Aloha, this is Jessica Smith in response to the article on ethical relativism and about morals in different societies and in different cultures. The very title says, "Who are we to judge?" You know, when there's so many different factors that come into play and so many different things that we don't understand based on different cultures from around the world. You know, some cultures say that one thing is okay while another culture may completely disagree. And it went into a lot of different examples on different principles that were very different from culture to culture, that were very specific about how to dispose of dead bodies and the like, and how it all depends on the different cultures and the different societies throughout the world. It was interesting reading the article because there was a definite bias. He seemed to be very nitpicky about all the holes and all the confusion that was in the article, which kind of made it hard for me to understand why someone would actually believe something like this. It was kind of like nailing Jello to a wall. The defenses for it were very, very slippery, even though it may have made sense from an anthropologist's point of view. The different understanding of the different cultures was about the only strong argument for it. But underneath that were two different types of relativism, two different principles that kind of guided the thought process about diversity and how the standard may differ from culture to culture, as well as the dependency theory, which sounded very similar to me, that it depends on the culture and what's going on within a certain group of society. And then he went on into subjectivism, which is an individual's choice about morals and standards. He went into the argument of how big does a group have to be in order to be considered a society or a culture. If there's a group of 10 or 15, does that count as a subculture? Does it count if he and a friend decide that it's okay to go and steal? And then if his partner dies and he's the only one left, he's just going by the rules that they had before as their own little society, in a sense. And very slippery arguments. It seemed like it would bring about a lot of confusion and anarchy, trying to get rid of this standard of power, because all the different cultures and all the different groups of people and the subcultures and all the different individuals would be struggling for the power to prove and to that they are doing something moral and to do kind of what they want. You can justify anything through this group, through this particular argument. It talked a lot about, I mentioned the power struggle that seems to be present with more of an absolutist thing. All these different groups would try and compete for power, and to make their views correct in order to justify what they themselves would want to do. It looked a lot into consequences. If, say, Hitler and his society that he had formed had taken over the world and made genocide something moral, made all these different types of torture and different types of things that can be present in such societies where these things are okay. Are they really okay? And then the constant underlying argument as well, who are we to judge? There are things that we don't understand about that culture, about their different understandings. It seemed like it wasn't really about the principles. It wasn't about justice. It was kind of more just like those principles are there, they do kind of exist, but more just kind of what priority level do they have from society to society, but in that they still kind of do exist. There is still kind of some standard above an individual society about what is justice, and everyone just defines them different or has them on a different level of priority. So it was kind of interesting to look at it from that perspective and see which principles or for morality were stronger, such as tolerance was a very strong one, just because everybody's different. Everybody has to be more tolerant in relativism. Or it could be possibly justice, but that, depends from culture to culture. But the point is that justice still does exist, but that different cultures may view it differently as what they consider just. So the argument for relativism seemed to have a lot of holes, and it wasn't very clear. Once again, like nailing Jello to a wall to me. So I look forward to reading on about other ways to view moral standards, because this isn't one that I don't think I'd particularly agree with.